stove's working perfectly after all that work I did to it, placing the gaskets and putting that damper in. That log in there, that's only a quarter burned. I put in at about 3 o'clock this morning. And it's still half there, so that's perfect. The temperature is nice in here. Get some coffee on. And some oatmeal.
it's a small space when you get the logs in place. 10 feet interior dimensions exactly again, like the cabin. But with that center wall, which is going to be a minimum of 6 inches thick, we're down to 4 3/4. 4 feet 3/4 of 48. 56 inches to be generous for each section. So I don't see one section being that much less important than the other. So we're going to end up likely with a window here. The door comes in the center because it's a fairly low roof line, so I can't put a door close to the edge. So walk through this door, and then walk through this door into the sauna section. I'll have to put the wood stove sauna heater over on that side to feed the wood, and from this side, that's going to take up most of this corner with clearance. I'll have a bench, 2 benches across the far side there. Yeah, this works. And then a sink right here for you know, stuff. Water can drain out that way for that. I'll dig a trench running from there into a garden, and gray water might be able to make sort of a trench that is lined even with clay that comes over here, and I'll run it into a little salad garden or something. Yeah, this works perfect, I think. Maple tree. Oops. Oh, it's so backlit. It's very gray out here. This is the thing I wanted to show you. I mentioned that in the trailer video. This is the log scribe, and there's a technique to using this thing. I think I did a pretty good job with it on the last thing. I did get tight saddle joints. I was able to cut pretty good tight saddle notches. But if I'm not using this right and you know a better way to use it, let me know. But I'm going to show you what I've been doing, and it's been working for me. Okay, so basically what I'm doing, so if I want to drop the top log down 4 inches to get it to sit down on the log underneath it, and so I've measured 4 inches from the bottom of the new log to the top of the the log that it's going on top of. If that's say 4 inches, what I'm doing is then spreading these apart 4 inches. So from there to there, 4 inches. I'm putting it on this board, spreading it apart and touching the 4 inches just to make it easier. I put that increment. I don't know if that's what most people do, to mark the increments on here. When I leveled this board up this way and then drew a level line this way, this is now level on both planes. This little level right here, bubble level, I can't tell if that's focusing or not. Bubble level has both planes as well. So what I'm doing is putting that on there, then I'm putting these leveling these out so both bubbles are centered. So that's level now both ways. So now when I take this and put it on the logs, on the log to scribe the curve, I have to make sure that I keep these things level. So I'm staring at these bubbles as I'm going and just doing that, making sure they're perfectly level. So if I wanted to drop this log 4 inches to get to sit down on the gravel in this case, what I would do is mark that 4 inches, put it on that project board, I'm going to call it, and level these out, and then come back to the log here and scribe it, keeping these bubbles as level as possible, so in the center as possible. And then because what happens if you were just to mark it and measure it all out, the log could be twisted or could sit tight on one side and not on the other. So it's important to keep that level. It just does a more accurate job than just doing it freehand or with measuring like a ruler and then marking it. I've done that too, and it can be done. It just might take a little bit more finesse with your notching. You might need to notch it, take it down, put it in place, and then see where it needs a little bit more taken off and just keep playing with it. So I think it's a little bit quicker doing it this way. So this actually, I want to drop it, well, exactly 5 inches. Now this log is only 6 3/4, so I'm only going to have 1.25 inches of wood left over there, and this is kind of a important log because I'm cutting the door out of it, which means those freestanding walls, the walls, because they don't carry all the way through from side to side, there's weight in the center of those where the door is, so that could end up kind of adding some weight on here. So I think what I'll do is only take this down, say 4 inches, and then fill that in with gravel and let the gravel support the weight. Just remember, as I'm doing this and as I'm telling you about it, this is just me doing this. I'm not an expert log cabin builder by any means. This is my 3rd cabin in 30 years, and it's not my profession. So if you want to know how to do if you were to build a home, follow somebody who actually is a home builder, a log home builder, not a guy like me working in the woods. This is just a sauna. It's not all that important in building. So I'm going to do my best job I can on it, but whatever I don't do a good job at is not critical. I guess maybe one other important point about this, a couple of things. One is that you have knots and stuff, or I have knots and stuff to work around because it's not a log cabin log, properly shaped and everything. Sometimes have to get around stuff like that, right? That's the other reason you do it level. If you're just going straight like this, then it would be pretty easy. You could actually just not worry about it being level, but because I'm coming at it from different angles all the time, it has to be level. Point I wanted to make though is this pen is called, or pencil is called an indelible pencil, and it actually works better when the log is wet, and for that reason it kind of melts it, and you can go a really fine touch. You don't have to press hard like you would with the lead pencil. And the other thing is you have to mark both sides at the same time, because this is you want it level like this and exactly in the right spot, because if it's twisted or if you were to cut this notch, drop this down, and then do that one, that notch would end up being up like that on an angle, so it wouldn't fit flush when the whole log comes down level. So I'll go to that side now, measure or mark that. Then I'll flip over the log, pencil in a little bit darker line so I can follow it better, and then I'll do the notch. Another thing I wanted to mention is I'm not going to talk like this in all my videos about this project or on this log cabin series. I'll be back to my normal style, but I wanted to start off on this series just explaining what I'm doing, so then when you have questions throughout you can refer back, or I mean, feel free to ask me questions in any video, but at least if you're actually interested in how to do this, not just watching, following me do it, then at least the information is there. And then I'll go back to just working away and not talking to a camera or talking to you guys all the time. Just gonna get back to work. So let's go do that corner. Maybe I shouldn't show you the first one that I've done in a year. Okay, here she comes. good enough for right now. I'll make it more comfortable sitting around the fire. I don't want to keep wasting daylight with something like this. So I'll bring it in after dinner and carve it into something more comfortable with a smooth handle, chamfered edges so it doesn't split as quickly. Yeah, good enough. See a problem with this work area. I want this gravel to drain, and if I keep this up doing all the notching on this bed of gravel, I'm going to end up filling it all full of organic material, which is going to end up decomposing as the water falls through. This section here is just the change room, so not as critical, but that section there for sure, I don't want to fill it up with wood chips and sawdust for sure, so I'm either going to have to take the logs off and notch them maybe there in the work area. I wouldn't mind some whole pile of wood chips there anyway to get rid of the mud, or I'll have to lay a tarp down, kind of a sacrificial tarp, unfortunately, one of my good heavy canvas ones. Probably get destroyed, but it'll keep the organic material out there, so we're a combination of the two. So I'm going to have to do that. But in the meantime, as I was using the hammer and the mallet, I remembered the tennis elbow that I got last year. I got it when I was doing all the notching. And it was aggravated when I was nailing the roof on. So, rethinking the way I'm notching these things, I'm going to take this in after dinner and sharpen this as well. Actually, it's more important than finishing that mallet. I'll sharpen this up, and I still don't have a fine enough edge on that log gouge. Not thinking though, spend the time getting these things both razor sharp and do all the notching, or the majority of the notching, with this and the log gouge, because that motion doesn't seem to bother any of my joints or muscles, so because I'm used to using an axe, right? So I'll see what I can do with this. I still think it's too chunky, it's not fine enough. I think I'm going to talk to my buddy at Toronto Blacksmith, Paul, and see if he would be able to custom make me a sharper and thinner adze that I can use to get through these notches quicker. Yeah. Getting close to dinner time, so I'm going to try to get this one log done and then go in and eat and do that, work on my tools for the rest of the evening. So that's a rough fit. What I'm going to do though is take another inch off and lower that, especially this side, down a little bit more to the gravel. Then I'll top the gravel up so the gravel's taking all the weight. I haven't used the log gouge yet to do a fine finish on that notch anyway. So I'll do that, and then that one will be basically done, and then I can move on to the next one. Now that took over an hour because I was trying out different tools and trying to get the sharpening and the angle and everything right. So I think what I'll do is sharpen up that adze after dinner and use that a little bit more on tomorrow's notches. It took me over an hour to get it to this point, and it's going to take me probably another hour to get it finished. Nice perfect fit. Now last year it took me, after I got going, took me about an hour to do both notches. So to do a full log essentially. So using that formula, it should take me about 75 hours to get all the logs notched. So I need to pick up the pace, and the only way I'm going to do that is if I make sure my tools are razor sharp and I've got a good system down. So that mallet, going to need that to use the log gouge to hit the back of the log gouge with, and I need that adze to be razor sharp. And then the axe and the saw will probably be used for like half of the notches. Just I like to switch back and forth, and I'm going to have to switch back and forth, I think, just not to aggravate my joints. Make sure that that repetitive activity, repetitive motion of doing these notches can cause me a little bit of damage, since it's not something I do every day. But then suddenly jumping in and doing 2 weeks straight of nothing but notches, it's not a good idea. So I think what I'll do is scribe the last 2 logs here, the other 2 logs for this course, this bottom course, and then tomorrow I'll notch those out, and then be ready to go. Then I'll be fired up to get going on the rest of it once I get that system down. Callie's tired and bored. You'd like me to take you for a walk, right? Yeah, you want to go for a walk? Where? Back to the pond? You'd like to walk to the pond? Okay, we can do that. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to wrap this video up, I think, and I'll see you up at the cabin again tomorrow. Take care.